Good morning. It's June 28th, 2022. I'm Chauncey Goss, Chairman of the South Florida Water Management District Governing Board, and I'd like to call the special governing board meeting to order. This is a special governing board meeting to hear from the district's auditors, RSM, on the 2020-2021 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report and Audit Management Letter. Board members, before we proceed, I'd like to do a roll call. Start with Vice Chair Wagner.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Bergeron.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Butler.
I'm here.
Thanks. Mr. Martinez. We'll come back to Mr. Martinez. Ms. Meads.
I'm here, sir.
Thank you. Colonel Roman.
I'm here.
Mr. Steinley.
I'm here.
Ms. Lipich.
Here.
Thanks. Mr. Martinez.
I'm here.
Thank you. The second item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll go ahead and lead us in that, if you'll all join me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
United States
of America.
and to the republic for which it stands,
Stands.
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible.
indivisible, liberty,
and
justice
for all.
Thank you all. Rosie, are there any changes to the agenda that was published?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Are there any abstentions by board members? And board members, I'm going to pull you on this one. Vice Chair, do you have any abstentions?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Bergeron.
No.
Mr. Butler.
I have none.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez.
I have none.
Thank you. Ms. Meads.
Nope.
Colonel Roman.
I have none.
Thank you. Mr. Steinley.
No abstentions.
Thank you. Ms. Lipich.
None.
Great. And I have none either. So at this time, we'll move to the discussion agenda, which is the fiscal year 2020-2021 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report and Audit Management Letter. I'm going to turn the meeting now over to Mr. Biernes and Mr. Friedman.
Good morning. We have Brett Friedman, the partner with RSM, and Chantel Knowles, the senior manager with RSM, with us today. They're going to present the results of their audit of the financial statements for the district, as well as the single audit, the management letter, and as well as their independent auditor report. So at this time, I will turn it over to Brett and Chantel.
Good morning, everybody. Brett Friedman on behalf of RSM. Our pleasure to be with you guys on the Zoom. Thank you for meeting with us. You have two documents that you should receive. The really huge document, about 250 pages, that's the district's annual comprehensive financial report, which is prepared by management. What we're going to do is we're going to walk you through the required communications, which we have with you each year as the individuals charged with governance. And this goes over some standard communications that us, as your external auditors, are required to share with you. To start here, it's showing on the screen, just the first one. We did the audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards, and also in accordance with our arrangement letter with the district, which was dated August 17, 2021. At the beginning of the audit, we provided a letter laying out the timing and the scope of the audit. There were no issues as far as the scope. I'll mention later there were some delays in timing, but no issues with the scope of the audit work that was done. As part of that process, which we'll get into later too, is some of the key areas we always look at is management override of controls, fraudulent revenue recognition, and also your key estimates, which in this case for the district involves self-insurance, pension, and other post-employment benefits. As far as accounting policies, if we could scroll down a little on the screen, please, Rosie. As far as the accounting policies, the district uses the appropriate policies. There were no significant changes in the current year. There was a new standard, but it did not have an effect on the district. That was GASB 84 dealing with fiduciary activities. As you see on the screen, there were no significant or unusual transactions, no transactions that occurred in areas where there was a lack of proper guidance on how to record them. We'll touch briefly on management's estimates because a lot of the activities that the district has is either cash received or cash dispersed. Where the risk comes in really is in those estimates because that involves judgment. And we'll talk through those briefly. Rosie, if you could slide to page 2. Okay, first to start out, there were no audit adjustments made to the original trial balance. We did have some uncorrected misstatements. Those are items that are individually in the aggregate, not material to the financial statements. They're included as part of the management presentation letter. Also going on, there was no issues as far as other information in the document. In the district's document, you have basic financials. You also have the combining non-major funds, the individual budget to actuals, as well as statistical section and a disclosure section. All that information, again, we just look at it for consistency with the basic financials, and we noted no problems, no material inconsistencies. As far as observations about the audit process, there were no disagreements with management over the application of GAAP. In all cases, we work together. The team, Candida and the company, they do a great job of reaching out and talking with us when there are questions about accounting transactions. As far as we're aware, there were no consultations with other accountants about audit or accounting matters. No significant issues that really came up. The biggest thing was, obviously we're here at the end of the month having a special meeting. There were some unavoidable delays, as with every system implementation. This one did not go smoothly. I don't think I've ever seen one that has gone smoothly, but there were issues where the district wasn't able to give us a good, complete, accurate trial balance. It took a while to kind of get that fixed, and that's kind of pushed things back. Then on top of that, the other challenge, which is also not uncommon to things, is the district, like everybody, is facing resource constraints. There was some more turnover in the finance department, and so trying to deal with a difficult system implementation, working shorthanded, led to the delay, and that's kind of why we're here at the end of the month rather than much earlier, as we'd all like to be. Going to the next page, please, Rosie. In addition to our audit opinion on the financials, which the first thing is today, once we get the final signed rep letter from the district, we're going to be issuing an unmodified opinion on the district's financials. Again, what that says is that the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Again, we just, our job is to determine whether or not the report is fairly presented. We don't get into, operational, criticisms or comments about, what you're doing or spending, just that the numbers as presented are appropriate and accurate. And then we allow it to you as the individuals charged with governance to take action from there. Other reports that are issued are internal control report in accordance with government standards. Also, we did a report in accordance with the major federal program and state program. So that's included in the package as well. And also a manager letter was provided. Going to the next page. The significant accounting estimates, these we like to highlight for you all the time because this is the area where the greatest risk occurs. In the district's case, for most of the significant estimates, you work closely with your actuaries. The actuaries help to guide things. We have our own consulting actuary within the firm who does an independent review. And what it comes down to is really looking at the key assumptions that are being used. And we looked at the underlying support data as well as the methodologies, had no problems as far as the approach for your self-insurance liabilities or for your pension liabilities. Now, pension, you're part of the Florida retirement system. As we work with a lot of governments in Florida, we review that as well, because even though you don't control the system, you are an employer in a network and you have a significant liability recorded on your books as related to the pension plan. So we do have to look at that from your perspective. The other estimates, other major estimate is other post-employment benefits, which Rosie, you scroll down to the next page, please. That one, again, that one deals with other non-pension related benefits, health insurance, things of that nature. There again, the district works with an outside actuary. We look at the underlying results and the methodologies, had no concerns with that process. Lastly, just going back over to the other reports, again, included in the package also, there's the single audit report and management letter. One sec. On the single audit report, the major programs were the Talisman program and also the FEMA program, were the two major federal programs. There were no material weaknesses, no internal control deficiencies, and no material noncompliance with regard to the federal program. On the state program, the program that we looked at was the FDEP Land Acquisition and Construction Program 37022. Again, no issues with that program either. Also of note is there were a couple of findings related to FEMA in the previous year, and those have been addressed, and it's included in the package, an update from Candida with regard to the processes and procedures that were put in place to address the FEMA finding from prior year. And with that, I will open up if there are any questions from anyone on the board.
Well, thanks very much, Mr. Friedman. I think we're going to go to public comment now. And if there's any public comment, Rosie will take that.
I have no public comment, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks. Then we'll go to board questions and discussion. Any board member? And I think, trying to see if I can see if you raise your hand or not, or you can just say something. If anyone has any questions, any comments, I'm not seeing any hands raised. I'd just like to say to you, Mr. Friedman, and to Ms. Knowles, and to our team, Candy and all of her folks, thanks very much for the hard work you put into this. I know it was difficult. It was a challenging year, and I very much appreciate it. I'd like a motion and a second to accept the fiscal year 2020-21 annual comprehensive financial report and audit management letter.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. I have a
I'll
motion.
second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and take that vote. Vice Chair Wagner?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Bergeron?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Ms. Meads?
Yes.
Colonel Roman?
Yes.
Mr. Steinle?
Yes.
Mr. Olovich?
Yes.
Thanks. And I'll vote yes. That passes unanimously. So thank you very much for that. Mr. Barnes, is there anything else we need to do?
Nope. That's all.
That's it. Well, thank you all very much. And that's passed. And we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.